Welcome to another episode of Mastering Cybersecurity, developed by baremetalcyber.com. Let's dive in. Brute force attacks are the most straightforward way attackers guess passwords by trying many possibilities until something finally works, which makes them a perfect entry point for beginners. The term covers both clumsy, rapid guesses and highly optimized workflows that test billions of candidates. So the idea is simple while the practice can be sophisticated. Understanding why brute force continues to succeed explains many modern defenses and helps place password policies in context. The goal in this episode is to demystify how guessing attacks operate, what makes some systems easier to crack, and why layered protections raise attacker cost. With a clear mental model, even basic controls feel less like folklore and more like cause and effect operating in plain sight. A password login begins when a user submits a secret that never should be stored as readable text, which is why systems keep only a transformed version. That transformed version is a password hash, a one-way mathematical fingerprint created by feeding the password through a function that is designed to be hard to reverse. When a user signs in, the system runs the same function on the submitted password and compares fingerprints, which should match if the secret is correct. Weak or reused passwords reduce the search space dramatically, making brute force economically attractive even when networks seem well protected. Reuse across sites means one successful guess can unlock many doors, which multiplies the harm of a single failure. Online brute force means sending repeated guesses to a live login form on the internet, which often looks like a storm of failures in the logs. Because servers must respond to each attempt, defenders can slow the guessing through rate limits that introduce delays after several failures within a short window. Attackers respond by rotating Internet Protocol (IP) addresses, using many devices, or spreading attempts across time to evade simple thresholds. Botnets coordinate thousands of compromised machines, so each one tries only a few passwords, which keeps local failure counts low while the global campaign is huge. The dance between throttling and distribution defines most online brute force, where network speed and server policies set the pace. Offline brute force begins when attackers steal a database of password hashes from a breach or misconfigured backup, which removes the defender's live gatekeeping from the equation. Instead of waiting for server replies, attackers can test candidates locally as fast as their hardware allows, which is often orders of magnitude faster than any online attempt. Graphics Processing Unit (GPU) hardware shines here because its many cores can test huge numbers of possibilities in parallel. With no rate limits and no account lockouts, the only remaining defense is how resistant the hashing process is to guessing at scale. The difference between online and offline modes drives very different mitigation strategies that must be understood separately. Several related attack families are routinely confused with pure brute force, so clear definitions help. A dictionary attack tries items from a curated list of likely passwords, which often includes names, phrases, and patterns observed in past breaches. A hybrid attack starts with a dictionary and then mutates words using rules, such as adding digits, swapping letters, or appending years, which mirrors human habits. Password spraying tries a small set of common passwords across many accounts to avoid triggering per-account lockouts, which is especially effective against large organizations. Credential stuffing uses real pairs of emails and passwords stolen from another site, betting that reuse will open new doors without any guessing at all. Password strength is best understood as how many possibilities an attacker must try, which is often called entropy in security writing. Short passwords, even with symbols, tend to have fewer possibilities than long passphrases built from several unrelated words, because length grows the search space dramatically. A 12-character random string or a 5-word passphrase forces more guesses than an 8-character mix, which converts directly into time and cost for the attacker. Human patterns like seasons, sports teams, and predictable substitutions compress the search space again, making clever-looking choices surprisingly weak. Thinking in terms of possibilities rather than style makes the benefits of longer, unique secrets intuitive and concrete. Modern cracking workflows chain many steps that each shave time off the search, which turns raw computing power into practical success. Attackers start with word lists assembled from breach data and public sources, then apply mutation rules that simulate human behavior, such as capitalizing the first letter or appending a birth year. Parallel processing on clusters or cloud instances scales testing horizontally, while optimized code squeezes more candidates per second from the same silicon. Workflow tuning is empirical, with feedback loops that promote patterns that worked before and demote those that waste cycles, which steadily improves efficiency. No single trick wins the game, consistent iteration does, which is why defenders focus on raising fundamental cost. Salting and hashing algorithms shape that fundamental cost with cryptography that can tilt the field in favor of defenders. A salt is a random value stored alongside each password that is combined into the hash, which ensures the same password produces different fingerprints for different users. Salts break the usefulness of pre-computed tables and force attackers to work on each account individually, which removes a dangerous shortcut. Slow, memory-hard hashing algorithms such as bcrypt, script, and Argon2 are designed to consume time and memory per guess, which reduces the advantage of massive parallel hardware. Choosing and configuring these algorithms well converts server resources into attacker pain in a measurable and repeatable way. Individual practices matter because many attacks succeed before organizational controls even come into play, which keeps the human layer central. A password manager creates and stores unique, long secrets for every account, which eliminates reuse and makes guessing improbably expensive. Passphrases built from several unrelated words balance memorability with size, which helps when managers are unavailable. Turning on multi-factor authentication, MFA, adds a second check, such as a prompt or code, which blocks most account takeovers even when the password is known. App-based prompts are generally stronger than short message service, SMS codes, because phone numbers can be hijacked, which keeps authenticators and backup codes preferable. Organizational defenses weaken online brute force by shaping how systems react to failure patterns, which turns policy into friction. Intelligent rate limiting adds short delays after a few failures and grows the delay with continued attempts, which frustrates automated guessing while leaving humans mostly unaffected. Lockout policies can block accounts after many failures, yet must be tuned carefully to avoid denial of service risks, which requires thoughtful thresholds and timeouts. Completely automated public Turing tests to tell computers and humans apart, CAPTCA, challenges, bot detection, and IP reputation data reduce automated traffic before it reaches sensitive endpoints. Logging every decision and tying it to risk models ensures future tuning is guided by evidence, not guesswork. Identity layer protections judge context, not only secrets, which closes many remaining gaps without burdening normal activity. Risk-based authentication, RBA, evaluates signals such as device reputation, location history, and sign-in time to estimate likelihood of misuse, which gates higher-risk sessions behind additional checks. Step-up challenges, like an extra prompt or re-entering a code, trigger only when risk crosses a threshold, which preserves usability while blocking unusual events. Session protections, such as short idle timeouts, refresh token binding, and strong cookie settings, reduce the chance that a guessed password turns into a persistent foothold. Applied together, these controls treat identity as a living story rather than a single password check. Monitoring and detection convert scattered failures into early warning, which is essential when guessing campaigns unfold slowly to evade thresholds. Centralized logs should capture successes, failures, source IP addresses, user agents, and geolocation hints, which enables correlation across systems and time windows. Security Information and Event Management, SIEM tools can flag surges and failures, odd geographies, or coordinated low and slow patterns that mimic human pacing, which helps surface subtle attacks. When brute force is suspected, well-rehearsed response steps include tightening rate limits temporarily, resetting at-risk credentials, and checking for successful logins near failure clusters. Evidence-driven response keeps attention on facts in the telemetry rather than anxiety or guesswork. A short scenario illustrates password spraying against a large company email system, where the attacker picks a tiny set of common passwords and tries each one across thousands of accounts during business hours. Because each account sees only a few failures, simple lockouts never trigger, and a handful of weak accounts grant initial access, which can then pivot into internal systems. The practical lesson is that even generous lockouts are not sufficient without spraying-aware analytics, longer secrets, and MFA coverage that renders guessed passwords less useful. A second scenario shows credential stuffing after a public breach, where stolen email and password pairs are replayed at a shopping site. The lesson there is that reuse converts someone else's failure into fresh compromise, which makes unique credentials and MFA non-negotiable foundations. Brute force thrives on predictable passwords, fast hash verification, and systems that treat every login the same, which gives attackers clear economics. Length, uniqueness, salts, and slow hashing make guessing harder per attempt, while rate limits and identity checks reduce the number of effective attempts in practice. Monitoring closes the loop by catching campaigns that slip through, which turns reaction time into reduced impact. When these layers work together, guessing attacks become too costly to sustain for most adversaries, which is exactly the desired outcome. A simple idea becomes manageable when controls push the work back onto the attacker at every step. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.